Welcome back to Hard at Work Roll Call. We are here in week 3 of the first season of Hard at Work on Madden NFL 16. And we're joined by Danny and Brenton again. Glad to have y'all back. And so there went my phone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we still hear you.
Okay, cool. Alright, so week 2 we left off the show with picking our games of the week for week 3. Bills, Patriots, Chiefs, Broncos, Packers, Seahawks. The Bills, I predicted a score. The Bills were going to win roughly 40-something to 19. Well, it was pretty damn close to picking it, but it was a complete flip. Keller and the Bills got their ass pushed in by Patriots and Devil Dog. We were unsure about Devil Dog, but he showed up big, only allowing Keller's measly Jills 14 rushing yards and 14 points. It was an absolute pathetic game by the Bills.
Damn, that's hot.
Yeah, I mean,
Five-
if anyone needs a game plan about how to beat Keller, just stop the run and game over.
Yeah, I really wish I could see time of possession here on Daddy Leagues, because, and I mean, you got to think Keller tried to run the clock, but when you get down, Keller's game plan's way off. You know, he can't sit there and milk the clock. But his 2 interceptions and 2 touchdowns were probably his highlight of the day. Carlos Williams, 17 rushes and 5 yards. How? That's an abysmal stat. Master Fokker might be the closest thing to that. Tom Brady, though, goes 7 for 13 with 150 yards. So it goes to show Keller's mistakes may have played off in this game, being such a lopsided victory. Blount only 23 rushes and 17 yards with a long of 27, but he had 2 touchdowns. So it would not surprise me, not knowing the backstory of the turnovers, that the turnovers did not give the Bills a chance to win this.
You know, it's the thing about Keller is Keller's never been known as a super strong passer, and his numbers for the game actually weren't that bad. He threw for over 300 yards, but I'm just of a firm belief if you could get a couple scores ahead of Keller and could shut down his run game, it's just easy. It's an easy game from there. I don't think Keller is going to beat many people through the air.
Yeah, well, I mean, the easy counter to that ball control offense is to put points on the board. So, I mean, anytime you can put that many points, just lump him on top and you put him off his game plan, well then, then he's got to play from behind, and that's just not how his team is built. And then, of course, 17 yards or whatever the hell it was on the ground, 5 yards, whatever, it's just not going to cut it. Like, that's awful. That's like watching elementary school kids try to play football.
Yeah, that game was. I think that was the game was the opposite of what we expected, but I think the Broncos and Chiefs game actually lived up to everyone's expectations. Obviously, I got the prediction wrong, but it was a very high-scoring shootout-like game. Both teams threw the ball crazy. Like, both teams actually eclipsed over 400 yards in the air. I think the most surprising thing about this game was the fact that Jamal Charles was actually held to 64 yards on the ground, even though he still got 21 carries. Obviously, Otto proved me wrong, but he's still putting up turnovers at a crazy rate. Through 2 games, his rookie quarterback Broussard has 7 interceptions. He may have walked away with this one, but his deep ball game, I don't think it's going to last, and I don't think it's going to get him to where he wants to be at the end of the season.
Man, I'm going to go ahead and take the exact opposite because I called the game right. Otto, the deep ball is back. It's not perfect, but it's back, and he is just as dangerous now as he was last cycle. 7 interceptions is tough, but I really think that as he gets more acclimated to passing the ball, he's just going to be Otto. You're not ever going to stop Otto from being who he is and putting the ball in the air and getting it done. I got to say it's nice to see Jamal Charles come back. to earth after his just staggering numbers from the first week. I was starting to get a little worried that he wasn't human. But yeah, I think you're wrong. I think this will be a springboard to Otto's season. I really think he's just going to get better from here.
Listen, there's no question in my mind. I'm not here to say Otto is not good. I just think as teams learn to play the deep ball better. If I ever play Otto, I'll put 2 safeties deep the entire game. In my opinion, 2 safeties deep, it's not hard to stop the deep balls in Madden 16. And Otto doesn't scare me enough on the ground with his running game in order to me bring someone up in the box on a regular basis. I think as people learn how to play the deep balls better, and this is the exact reason I never thought the aggressive catching was too strong, because once I learned how to play deep balls, I never really ran into that many problems when it came to the aggressive catches. So I think once people adjust to how to play the deep balls in the air, then it'll be something that'll really kind of knock him off his game plan. I do think he's going to have to learn a different game plan for this cycle.
Yeah, if you look at the stat line for the Broncos, 4 of the 6 receivers that caught balls, all their longs were over 20 yards, and 3 of them were over 30, and then 2 over 40, 1 over 50. So that just goes to show his deep ball threat. He was throwing them deep. So
you also have to look at the fact that he was barely over 50% completion percentage. There's so many things that I think can go wrong with the deep ball game that I just don't see it being something that's going to be a consistent enough offense to work on a weekly basis.
Well, I still disagree, but unfortunately, it's time to get to my pick for Game of the Week. And Seahawks-Packers did not go as I had hoped it would. Man, where do I start? 30 yards rushing on the ground. I mean, Marshawn Lynch, 13 attempts for 32 yards. I mean, what? I know that offensive line is bad, but what even is that? Russell Wilson, 19 attempts, completes 9 for 160 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. I mean, you're not going to win games that way. And, man, 20-10. I mean, given the fact that score was 20-10 and he had 3 turnovers and couldn't run the ball. I mean, I think that's a testament to the defense. But Maz has got to start putting it together on offense. I don't know. He's going to have to do something and of course they gave up 4 sacks. So Russell Wilson running for his life all game probably didn't help. But yeah.
I think it's poetry, the fact that you got my game right and I got your game right. As I'm sure most people here remember that I said the Seahawks offense is nowhere near clicking last time, and that's going to be the thing that stops Maz. Is he hasn't gotten any feel for offense in this Madden yet. The story of the game, from what I heard, was all 3 interceptions were in the first half, and basically all 20 points of the Packers came from those 3 interceptions. So obviously it means his defense played a lot better in the second half, but offensively he just doesn't have anything right now that scares anybody. And mind you, he's played 2 great defenses, the Packers and the Rams.
Yeah, two great two great teams loaded with pass rushers too.
And while we're talking about that, the Seahawks' worst position group is their offensive line without a question. So that's something that we knew the Seahawks could have problems with coming in. But Maz is going to have to figure out how to game plan around that and get Russell Wilson maybe into some space to complete passes. He's just got to. You've got to learn how to do offense if you're going to win your division. And mind you, everybody in the NFC West right now has a shot to win the division. They're all competitors in that division. I think that could be the most competitive division in terms of all 4 users in HaW. But Maz is going to have to learn how to move the ball consistently in order to win that division.
Yeah, you can tell the Packers dominated the game with, running over 60 plays just about. Jamaz is only less than 40, so I'm sure the time of possession there, Packers got the scores early and controlled the clock. So, but only running less than 40 plays, that's rough. You don't really give your team a chance. So,
If you look at the Packers box score here as well, the Packers didn't necessarily do anything too great offensively either. Aaron Rodgers didn't break 200 yards. Eddie Lacy didn't break 80 rushing yards on 24 carries. Randall Cobb has been a stud. I don't know if anyone's paid attention to that or not, but
Yeah.
through 2 weeks, Randall Cobb has been an absolute stud for Green Bay. It's just defensively. Green Bay, at any time you can get sacks on the other quarterback, it's gonna cause the mistakes. And I'm sure that most of the interceptions from Russell Wilson was because he was under pressure and he just had to try to make a quick decision and it was the wrong one. So offensively, Green Bay necessarily didn't do amazing either. Like, I'm not saying the Seahawks defense was bad because I'm sure it wasn't terrible, but you've got to have offense. Offense in Madden wins games, and Maz doesn't have offense right now.
Well, while we're on the subject of week 2, let's go ahead and get away from games of the week. We're gonna go. I'm specifically want to talk about Buccaneers versus Saints. This is a game that didn't really get a lot of attention from us, and I haven't heard a whole lot of people talking about it. But it looks like it was a good game, a great game. I didn't get to watch it. I don't know if anybody streamed, so I didn't get to watch it. But looking at the stats, I mean, this was a shootout. Buccaneers beat the Saints 45-35, and man, I can't really see. I guess maybe Coach just capitalized a little more, it looks like, on his drives. But, I mean, Drew Brees, 13 of 22, 255 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception. Jameis Winston, 21 of 29, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception for 316 yards. I mean, Doug Martin, muzzle hamster, 24 attempts, 118 yards, no touchdowns. But this game looks like it was a shootout, and I got to give props to Raunchy. I thought he would do terrible having not played for so long, but it looks like maybe he's a little further along than most of us anticipated. I don't know. I guess I wish I could have watched the game because I don't see anything in the numbers here that says why Coach won by 10 points.
Well, I'll say this, and I think this will be a regular thing throughout any games on for the most part. But I think anytime a team runs the ball effectively, anytime you have a 100-yard rusher like Coach does and can control the clock better, I think that's probably going to lead you to more wins than not. I will say I was very impressed. I don't think either team streamed, but I was impressed with Raunchy because I thought without Jamie Graham he would just fall on his ass and not be able to do anything offensively. But he did. He had a good game. Marcus Colston had a big game. Looking at the box score, I think Coach controlled the ball a majority of the game. I was a little surprised. I thought Coach would actually end up winning the game easy. Mind you, it was still a 10-point game. But I definitely think Raunchy showed he still has something left in the tank here. And I just want to say again for the record that Coach's legacy player is fucking huge.
That dude is massive.
Like, it's like an offensive lineman out there with 96 speed at wide receiver. But Coach did what Coach does. He ran the ball effectively, even with a not top-tier halfback. Jameis Winston, good completion percentage, good touchdown-to-interception ratio. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, huge tight end, 117 yards in the air. It was a very coach-like game. I thought the interesting thing about this game, though, was the fact that each team only had 1 sack. Not much pressure, it seemed, getting to the quarterback.
I'm showing 2 sacks here.
I mean 1 each.
I'm showing 2 per.
I got 3.
Yeah, I only have 1 per, so that's, I guess
Weird.
Daddy Leagues is fucking weird. But, yeah, I thought this was a good game.
Yeah, another good game was Jaguars Dolphins. Ended on a Hail Mary, from what we have heard.
Controversial Hail Mary.
Yeah, which is Manziel's only touchdown of the game. going 16 for 30 with 228 yards, touchdown, interception. Somehow pulls off the upset at home. Dunbar comes in and rushes 12 times for 100 yards, which 45 of them can account to one rush. So, you take away that big rush by Dunbar, this game could have been completely different. But Jay Ajayi, rookie, hitting some big-time carries, 2 rushes and 1 yards. So that's a pretty big run.
Look at those big-time carries, those 2 carries.
No. But Lamar Miller with his 20 rushes, only 47 yards. That's a pretty low stat, So definitely, other than the Hail Mary, this game was probably the Dolphins to have. Tannehill 300 yards, but still cannot throw in a touchdown. Looks like about a 60% completion rate, but they threw to 9 different receivers. So
Yeah, I think that was a very underrated thing. Like being able to complete the passes to that many guys, I think is huge. It gives you a lot of targets out there. This game, from what I heard, had an interesting story where they thought the game was over and the Jaguars threw up a Hail Mary and the Dolphins got called for a pass interference. And Worm ended up getting into the end zone because of that. I gotta say, that's Arlen has an interesting way. He finds interesting ways to lose. I would definitely be upset if that happened to me. That's a hell of a way to lose. But how about Worm, on the other hand, so far proving people wrong with the Jaguars roster that's not that great? 2-0.
Proving even himself wrong. I mean, he was
2-0.
He was just as tooting that horn of him only winning 6 games as anybody else. And at 2-0, I don't see him only winning 4 more games. I mean, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, the last game we can touch on here for this week is the game that we closed the show with last week, I believe, which is between you two gentlemen here, the Cowboys and the Eagles, which I thought the score actually was a lot closer than some people maybe thought it would be. I played Ibo week 1. I thought he was actually a really good user, and the final was 20-17. Statistically speaking, I mean, nothing huge really jumps out. Dez Bryant was Dez Bryant. Sam Bradford, yet another good game. This time he actually puts touchdowns on the board. 2 touchdowns, no picks. Obviously, I don't know the story of the game. The only thing I heard really about this game was there were some drop issues and stuff like that. But I thought it was a really good divisional game, and I think that would have been a great game to watch in a stream. And I think it shows the Eagles might actually be the number 2 team in the NFC East right now.
Yeah, it definitely was a strange game. I honestly, like 20-17, that was the hardest fought 20 points of my life. I can't tip my hat enough to Ibo's defense. I mean, he was good. Man, I don't know. Both of us had some tough breaks. I mean, both of us had interceptions that could have changed the game, like that just flat got dropped. I mean, I think at one point it was tied up 14-14, and that's when Dez dropped 2 wide open touchdown passes. And then on the drive where I drove down to kick the game-winning field goal, Ibo's linebacker, who had just been lights out, was it Kendricks?
Yeah, Kendricks.
Dropped a inside the 20, like that's where I threw the pass. I think I was just outside. He hit me in the backfield and put me just outside of field goal range, so maybe inside the 30. I was just trying to make it field goal range with a quick pass, and Kendricks dropped a clutch interception that probably would have put him, in the driver's seat to drive down or to just polish off the game because he was up 17 to. Or I guess we were tied. Maybe would have gone to overtime. I'm not really sure, dude. That was just such a strange game.
How did you feel about your team's performance in that game, Ibo?
We finished drives except when it mattered in the fourth quarter. Defensively, we finally gave up some rushing yards, allowing 121 yards, but a lot of them were coming on well-timed runs. I was having to try to defend the pass, and he was catching me on it. And a lot of his rushing yards came in that last drive. He easily marched down the field on me, so there's nothing I could do to stop it. He just kept pounding it. So, if we can fix the fumbles really killed us. I was up 7-0.
Yeah, I
with
forgot about the fumble.
And I was moving down the field, looking to score, go up 14-0, and freaking fumble. And then a fumble again at the start of the halftime, up 14-7. And just luckily I recovered that one, but then it just stalled. I don't know. So there's a few things I can work on to put some more points on the board. I had to come in and game plan to run or to pass the ball because he obviously knew my game plan, and luckily I switched it on the fly, and I don't think I ran the ball the first quarter. So it paid off switching my game plan on the fly. I was pretty confident on that. So just a good confidence building. This is my first season, so back in playing user. So the more confidence I can build, the better it's going to be down the road.
All right, well, let's just give a quick updates on how the divisions here is shaking out so far. Obviously, it's just 2 weeks, so this isn't the hugest sample size of how things are going to end up. But who knows? It could possibly be. So far in the NFC North, the Green Bay Packers and Husker, 2-0. The big thing I think about Green Bay here is the fact they've scored 61 points but only allowed 17. Huge point differential, and that normally leads to more wins, obviously.
That's the most obvious thing I've heard all day.
I'm trying to give that John Madden knowledge right now.
If you score points more than the other team, then you're going to win because you have more points.
The NFC West, like I said earlier, I think it's going to be the most competitive division in terms of all 4 users competing with each other in terms of user skill. Have all the teams currently sitting at 1-1. Obviously, you've got Maz, who's having some problems offensively. Daddy Blanky, who had a good showing week 1, but failed to show up against freaking Pittsburgh in week 2. You've got Ryan and the St. Louis Rams, who lost to Maz week 1, beat the computer Redskins week 2. And then you've got John Galt, who I failed to do my research on, so I have no idea what he's done so far. And then obviously you've got my division, NFC South. 3 teams currently sitting at 1-1, but the division leader, 2-0, huge point differential. Man sitting in front of the camera right now. And I want to thank Fokker for that point differential. How about a shout out to I believe maybe the first shutout of the cycle. 31-0, I think. Fokker, good stuff, man. Appreciate that. So, Britton, why don't you tell us a little bit about your division there? We touched on it a little bit already.
Well, right now, the NFC East as it stands, I'm the only one with wins in the column. We got the Redskins, who can't seem to find an owner at 0-2, which is a surprise to no one. We got the Giants at 0-2, who unfortunately have found an owner. And that's a surprise to no one. And then
seven total points in 2 weeks for the Giants.
Yeah. Negative 49 point differential. I mean, you're going to win a lot of games that way. And then you got the Eagles at 0-2. And I don't think anybody in Philadelphia needs to panic. That's going to get turned around soon. But, yeah, pretty much NFC East is like a dumpster fire. Like, you might as well swap the South from last year in real life to the fucking East from this year, because this is terrible. Let's see, what else we got here? The AFC East, which kind of surprising, maybe to nobody but me. The Patriots and the Jets, man. Both of them 2-0.
I could say Strauss has showed up as well.
Strauss is honestly the most impressive to me in the division, because obviously, Patriots owner's new, so we still don't know what to expect from him. He's had 2 great weeks, and I'm not trying to...
If I could make one knock on the Patriots owner just based on stats that I'm looking at right now, is the fact that he gives up a good amount of points as well.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. The Jets' point differential of 27 and hanging 64. I mean, but I can't honestly tell you that I expected the Bills to be 1-1 right now, especially not with a point differential of 7.
You know, I don't want to stay on this division too long, but can anyone here imagine if the Buffalo Bills finished 4th in that division this year?
I'm pretty sure we'd have to find a new commissioner because he'd hang himself.
Like, I don't think anyone thought it was possible he finished anywhere outside of 2nd, but as good as the Jets are playing right now, and as good as the Patriots have played so far, I think there's a chance the Buffalo Bills and Keller might finish last in their division this year.
Blame it on Sammy Watkins. He's under development.
Oh man. Okay, before Keller hates us, we're gonna move on from the AFC East. I'm gonna talk a little about the AFC South, and the Tennessee Titans, surprising to no one, are leading, and they have a 50-point differential.
Jeez.
That is nasty.
Well, I will say this about the Titans. Let's not read too much into it. They did have one sim game and one CPU game.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Okay, but you might as well have had one CPU game. So.
I mean, listen. I don't doubt Horton's a great user, but let's see him take that newly built Tennessee roster and play some user games before we start anointing him the king of the South.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and keep the crown nice and polished up for him because I don't see anybody taking him out. Worm sitting at 2-0, which is surprising to Worm maybe, but the rest of us are pretty much expected it. I mean, he built that team the way he wanted it, and they're playing just how he wants them to.
Key note for the Jaguars also is the fact that both of their wins have been close games. He's winning close games here.
And then you got the Houston Texans and RFF who scored 19 points. So I think maybe his offensive coordinator is Fokker. So
I'm starting to think I'm cursing people with predictions. RFF was my pick in the preseason to win this division, and a team that's supposed to be known for its defense giving up 66 points in 2 weeks.
Yeah, man. And then of course the Indianapolis Colts who, yeah, I got nothing. They just
To be fair, I think we all thought that he was in over his head when he got matched in this division with the other 3 users.
Well, I think even Keller told him he was getting in over his head, but
he wanted the challenge, so he's getting exactly what he wanted.
They say you want it, you got it, served up on an ice cold platter. And here's your shaker of salt, so enjoy it.
All right, Abo, what do you got for us? I think we got a couple divisions here left.
Well, a good stat that I was looking at that we missed. Fokker, if you're listening, you're not the worst team in the NFC. The Chicago Bears, it's negative 79 point differential. That is the worst point differential. You might have only scored the least, Fokker, but at least you're not negative 79 in the hole.
I'm curious, does anyone know if those have been user games or CPU games?
Does it really matter?
He played Husker.
Well, to be fair, if someone's just dropping an amazing amount of points against the computer Bears, I can't really hold them accountable too much to that. Fokker at least has been 2 user games.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought we have. I don't know. We'll have to find out that in chat back. But back to the AFC. We'll start with the North. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati leading it, as I would suspect. Both are pretty even, other than Cincinnati's defense. So that division's going to be tough. I really believe Pittsburgh. Going back to previous notes. I have the Steelers actually making the Super Bowl, so we'll see if that happens. And then the AFC West, to no surprise, Oakland is 2-0. Troy's a good user. 36-plus point differential. That's a pretty good stat to have. And then the Broncos at 2-0. But the rest of the division's not far behind, sitting both at 1-1. Looking at the division point 4, they are putting up some points all over 70, but all have allowed pretty good amount of points too. So it's pretty. Looks like some big time shootouts could go on in them divisional races.
Another interesting factor we didn't touch on is the fact that the AFC East all have positive point differential. They're all scoring more than they're giving up.
Well, at least two of them have done it for one game.
All right, so
here's a fun fact: the NFC East sucks. There's only one team with a positive point differential.
So how about you give us a quick injury update here? I heard there was actually some really big injuries this past week.
Yeah, the Odell Beckham Jr. injury came by the Falcons after. Yeah, I mean that's what happens when you just continue to.
That's what happens when you piss me off, Flocker.
He will be out for 5 weeks, which puts him slated back to return against me. So hopefully his injury will hold up.
I think the exact injury was a dislocated thumb or something.
Well, and that's a devastating blow to a team where every position is played by Odell Beckham Jr. So.
Yeah, I don't see Falker's woes getting any better for the next 5 weeks with Beckham Jr. out.
I mean, he scored 7 points so far, so, I mean, maybe his kicker will step up and he'll score 3.
Colin Kaepernick is going to miss some time from the 49ers. That's coming to a huge blow for Daddy Blanky, who week 1 had Colin Kaepernick. I don't know at what point of the game he went out, but I could almost say that got to chalk up to his loss if he went out early. I think he's going to miss 6 weeks, 7 maybe.
Yeah, so I think it was a partially torn PCL. So.
Correct. And then, to no surprise, Percy Harvin's out. That's just the big blow because he had a big week in week 1, I believe.
Yeah, he's probably out with a bruised ego again.
You know, I'm not going to say that I've always said Percy Harvin is the most injured man in Madden history, but I feel like every time I see Percy Harvin in Madden, he just gets injured.
Look, man, he's leading the league in injuries, so, I mean, he's getting there.
Like, he is literally the only Madden character that every time he gets hit, regardless of what position is hitting him, it looks like it's a hit stick. You could just secure tackle Percy Harvin, and it would look like you just gave him a spine buster. Like, I don't understand that. Like, it's like there's a trait Percy Harvin has that says, I have to get hit like it's a train running over me every single time I get hit. I just like to call it the Percy Harvin effect.
So the stat update will be next, which is going to be, like we've said earlier, on standings and everything else, a little inflated for right now. But let's see.
Yeah, we're just gonna give a quick run through of this. Obviously, with it only being a 2-week thing, you've got sim games, you've had some computer games. Some of the things are inflated. The passing leaders currently Joe Flacco and Ben Roethlisberger. Obviously had that big game week 1 where both of them basically went off. So I'm going to touch on the people underneath them that have been both in user games, which is Ryan Tannehill and Alex Smith. I think seeing Alex Smith at number 4 in terms of passing yards is actually a pretty huge surprise, and Ryan Tannehill in and of itself is. I think the Miami Dolphins offense being as pass reliant as it has been so far is a very twist of what people thought it would be coming into the year. In terms of rushing, I know a lot of people have talked about their struggles in the run game. Well, how about through 2 games, Latavius Murray has 324 yards.
MVP.
But when you get behind that, though, you get to more of the down-to-earth numbers. Jamal Charles and LeGarrette Blount sitting around 220. And then in terms of receiving, A.J. Green, 350 yards. Pretty head and shoulders above the next. You got Randall Cobb, Emmanuel Sanders. We do actually have a tight end on the list, which I know people hate that. Dennis Pitta, currently number 4 in receiving yards at 243. And I think that's pretty much the only offensive numbers we need to talk about here stat-wise. Is there anything that jumps out at you guys there?
Yeah, you skipped Des Bryant on that list.
Who?
Des Bryant.
Who?
You skipped him.
Who's that?
He's that guy that's right above Julio on the receiving yards list right now.
That's because I throw to everybody. You know, I don't just force
So why?
feed it into Des Bryant.
It's not my fault that everybody on my team's name
I don't-
is Des Bryant.
I don't pretend that Des Bryant's a giant baby and I'm trying to put the football, which is the baby food, into his mouth.
That's what you do.
Look
He
at
wants to cradle it and carry it across the goal line, which he hasn't done yet because I got robbed.
compare the top 5 quarterbacks to the top 5 receivers, and none of them match up on the same team. So that's a pretty good stat.
Well, you do have.
Pitt and Joe Flacco, but
Yeah, you do have Pitt.
you take the other 4, and it goes to show that the quarterbacks that are putting up some yards are not just singling out one receiver. So that's always a good sign.
On the other side of the ball, I'm looking here, and I'm not going to go position by position. I'm just going to do overall defense, and the Green Bay Packers are the number 1 in total defense. They're also the number 1 in rushing per game. St. Louis is the best at defending the pass, but here's something interesting. In total defense, at number 2 you have the St. Louis Rams, 3 you have the Seahawks, and at 5 you have the Cardinals. So 3 AFC West or NFC West teams are in the top 5 defenses so far.
See, my thought about that is like, is it their defenses are so good, or is it just that division's offenses are so bad?
Are the offenses that bad? Well, I guess
Yeah.
we'll find out as time goes on. But that's still a pretty interesting stat to look
You know,
at.
I think it's very interesting the Rams having the number 1 passing offense.
Defense.
Passing defense, my mistake. You've got to wonder how much of that's inflated. Obviously, playing Maz helps. But yeah, defensively, I don't think there's any big shockers out there in terms of the teams, though. You know, the Rams' defense is really good. Seahawks, Bills, Cardinals, Packers. Those are all defenses you really expect to be good up there. So.
Well, we're coming down to the end of the show here. So it's that time again to pick our games of the week. So obviously, whoever I pick will lose, and whoever Greatness picks will lose. But I will pick the winner of his game, and he'll pick the winner of mine. So my pick, and this is just because I can't resist, is Bills-Dolphins. The Bills just got pummeled by the Patriots, and I'm sure Keller is just absolutely in love with that. That's his favorite thing, is losing to the Patriots. And the Dolphins just lost a heartbreaker to the Jags, so both teams are going to be looking to bounce back. I really think that's going to be a huge game, and it's really hard for me to pick a winner, but I'm just going to – Keller's demoralized, and Arlen is I don't know. I'm going to say energized from his heartbreaking loss. I'm going to say the Dolphins win this one, but it's going to be close.
Yeah, you got to imagine if Keller loses back-to-back division games, as down as he gets after his games, imagine what it's going to be like then. That's going to be like emo Keller. We might need to get him away. Might need to remove his shoelaces from his shoes.
I'll go buy him a Hawthorne Heights CD and mail it to him.
As tempted as I was to pick the Atlanta-Dallas game and just shit-talk Raider for the next few minutes here, we already know who's got that in the bag via proven history. So I'm going to pick a different game, and I'm actually going to pick the New England Patriots and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Devil Dog has a chance to really establish himself by beating another perennial good user, and at the same time, Worm has a chance to continue pretty much what he could assume is the greatest possible outcome he's had of the season so far, starting 2-0 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I do think the Patriots will win just due to the fact of how much better that roster is than the Jacksonville Jaguars. But who knows? Worm might surprise me again and get to 3-0.
Who you got, Ibo?
My computer has gone haywire. So give me just a second.
Well, while you're doing that, let's talk about the Falcons and Cowboys matchup. Some interesting things going into this game. First off, is no injuries for either team, which is obviously how you want the game to be. I don't want to beat Raiders' ass and him be able to say, oh, Tony Romo was hurt. He had his thumb stuck up his butt and had to go crying home to his mama. I want him to be at full strength when the game happens. Now, obviously, eventually Raider is going to have to beat me, we're not going to be able to go cycle after cycle with me beating Raider over and over again. So it's possible you win. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee that I'll win because, the only people I do that to is Fokker. So it's possible, but I really do think my offense, my passing offense right now is clicking like it's never clicked before. And the Dallas Cowboys secondary, I don't think is ready for Julio Jones to come to town. So I do think I'm going to win, and I think I'm going to win somewhat convincingly. Like my prediction is going to be 30-17.
That's a generous amount of points you gave me there.
Considering the last time we played, I think you actually scored 0.
19-0. Yeah.
But I do think your front seven is actually a lot better now than it was in that game at the time. So.
I don't know. I was like a 93 overall when you put the fucking boots to me medium style. So I don't know, man. Like I could sit here and be like, oh, I'm gonna win, but it's not my style, and I'm not really expecting to win, and it doesn't really matter to me this early in the season. Like, obviously, I'd like to come out of there with a win as a little bit of redemption for all the shit kickings you've given me, but man, I'm just gonna.
That's the thing. Regardless of who wins this game. This could be a preview of a playoff game, but by the time we get to the playoffs, it could be a completely different story how the matchup unfolds.
I'm taking things a week at a time, and like you said, man, like my secondary is definitely the weakest part of my unit. It's not that hard to look at it and see, and just like everybody's not ready for Dez Bryant to come to town, it's really hard to game plan against a Julio Jones. The dude catches balls. It's just going to happen.
I will say I feel more comfortable with Desmond Trufant against Dez Bryant than I would about Orlando Scandrick against Julio Jones.
I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm pretty comfortable with Scandrick on Julio. The problem is you're pretty good at moving Julio around, so I know it's not going to be Scandrick on Julio every down. So.
No, and I think a key stat, and this is pretty much how my offense runs, is the fact that currently I have a 77% conversion on third down. I'm normally the Keller when it comes to just being extremely efficient at keeping the ball and having very long possessions that demoralize people. I think the key to beating me, honestly, is just stopping me on third down.
I think this is what it's going to take to beat you. I'm going to have to flip the script, and I'm going to have to control the clock, and I'm going to have to run the ball because Trufant is incredibly talented, and I don't like the idea of it becoming a let's chuck the ball up and hope Dez beats Trufant because.
And I think a lot of I don't know if a lot of people realize who I legacied over, but Margarita Beatty, my second corner, is also really amazing at 6'2".
Yeah.
So
you got good weapons littered all over the defense, and of course Beasley with 4 sacks already.
Speed, though.
Like I said, it's just I'm gonna have to control the ball and I'm gonna have to run it. And if I can't do those two things, it's a guaranteed loss. That's just the short and skinny of the game.
I feel like if I get 10 or 14 points ahead of you early, I think the game's in the bag at that point.
To be honest, I don't think it's going to take that many points. If you get ahead and control the clock, we saw it even in that 19-0 game. I didn't have any trouble driving the ball. I just couldn't put it in the end zone or get in field goal range. So I don't think you have to score more than 14 points to win this game. I really think it's going to be that kind of struggle.
Are you good to go now, or are you still having troubles?
Who did you pick for your game of the week, Danny?
The Jacksonville Jaguars and New England Patriots.
Yeah, you took.
I thought you were going to go with the Chiefs and Packers.
No, actually, I'm calling an audible. Actually, I will go Chiefs and Packers. I was going to say Redskins versus Giants if the Redskins had a user, so we could see who scores the most points in the honestly, that game could tie 0-0 if the Redskins have an owner, because the Redskins are horrible. But I will go Chiefs and Packers, because I think the Chiefs are going to look to rebound off their Week 2 performance. Packers are at home again, so it's going to be tough to go on the road to Lambeau and win against a team that is only allowing 18.5 rushing yards in 2 games. They did play the Bears, who were probably computered. So The Chiefs they're putting up numbers, 152 rushing yards, which is a little inflated due to the Jamal Charles Superfest in Week 1, but 310 passing yards. So we'll have to see the turnover. I think the key to victories will be the turnover. The Packers are +1, the Chiefs are -1. I think that will come down to who wins this game.
I think this actually could be an early preview about how fair how the top users of the AFC could compare to the top users of the NFC. Are we going to have an AFC that's top heavy with good users, and then have an NFC that only has 4 or 5 top users? So I think this could be a good showdown between conferences.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't get to sit in here last year, but I've picked up a lot of who's who, and this is gonna be a good game. Hopefully, it'll be streamed. I think that'll be a good one to watch. I would have to go out on a limb though and say I'm gonna say the Packers win due to home field advantage and a solid defense.
All right, a couple things I just want to drop here before we close out the show here, guys, is the Daddy League's Players of the Week. A.J. Green, 9 receptions, 171 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Pretty fucking crazy. And then a former Atlanta Falcon that was actually traded before Week 1 started, Brooks Reed, 4 sacks and 6 tackles for the Cardinals. And then lastly, just bring up 2 quick trades that happened. Obviously, I'm in the process of trading for Justin Forsett from the Ravens. And then the big trade that I think could really impact the division is the Denver Broncos sending Peyton Manning to the St. Louis Rams. When you go from Nick Foles, who is an average quarterback at best, and then go to one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the game, who has a weenie arm, noodle arm, but still fairly accurate, and you combine that with Todd Gurley and a couple offensive weapons, you could really see, hopefully, the Rams' offense finally start to pick it up here in the next few weeks. I think that'll be something to watch for, is how Peyton does his first couple weeks as a Ram. But, Ibo, if you want to get ready to take it home.
Yeah, we are wrapping up Week 3. We should be back in the middle of Week 4 on Monday. We should have been, it'll be in the middle of Week 4. One last thing I'll leave with is my prediction, since I've played you both in the first 2 weeks, of the Dallas-Atlanta game. I would have to say, after playing both of you, that the game is going to come down to Atlanta in the fourth quarter. They're playing on the road in Dallas.
Jerry World.
It's going to be a good environment. So both are healthy. I think the battle of the wide receivers are going to be the key. But it's going to be who runs the ball the most. And I think Atlanta is going to shut it down eventually in the fourth quarter and win by 3. So there's my prediction. It's going to be close, and it's going to be another 3-point game.
I think you could actually make the argument of whoever actually has the better running game could win the game. Because there's a chance Des Bryant and Julio Jones has mirror weeks. But
yeah, LeSean McCoy had a big-time game against me, and the Falcon run game sucked against
God, so bad.
So
it even sucked against the Giants, so I can't say much. Obviously, I'm hoping Forsett turns that around. Better ball carrier vision. He's more nimble than Tevin Coleman. I'm still going to go with the kind of two-headed monster concept, but we'll see. Obviously, I love hearing everybody's predictions, and it'll be a good game. I'm definitely going to try to stream it. Hopefully, we'll be able to let everyone know ahead of time.
I'll try to stream so people don't have to watch your Tourette syndrome.
Hopefully, the stream is better. So, good luck to you both, and I will see you back here and the rest of the league back on Monday night, and we'll be in Week 4. And we're going to see if the Falcons can go 3-0 or the Cowboys can go 3-0.
There can only be one, baby, and you looking at them.
We'll see what happens.
See you guys.